We're down to 4 teams in the 2024-25 college football season. The semifinals will be this week. I'm going to give you my predictions and tell you who I think is going to play for the national championship. One of these games, I feel pretty good about my prediction. The other game, I mean, it's tough. It is very, very tough. And you probably already know which games I'm talking about. You probably already know the one prediction that I'm going to make. And I will say that since the start of these playoffs, I've done these videos, and I guess this will be the final playoff prediction video that I do, because after this we'll just have one game. And the games that I've said that I feel confident about, they have all been correct. Again, some of the games maybe I didn't feel super confident in. Sometimes I get them right, sometimes I get them wrong. But again, I do feel confident about one of these games. So this is the updated bracket. I guess you already know this, but Ohio State will play Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Notre Dame will play Penn State in the Orange Bowl. Notre Dame at Penn State is actually the first game. That's the Thursday night game. Ohio State, Texas, the Friday night game. But we're going to start with Ohio State, Texas, just because it's on the left side of the bracket. So here you go. This game will be, again, on Friday night, 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. Ohio State favored by 5.5 points, which, based off of the last game, seems like a crazy low number. But it's not all about the last games. So Texas, of course, they had to go to overtime to beat Arizona State. Ohio State, they blew out Oregon. So if you just look at those games, I think, again, you would think that the spread would be much higher in this game. But you have to look at the season entirely. You have to look at how good Texas's defense is. And you think that this is probably the toughest defense that Ohio State has faced all season. This is possibly the best offensive line that Ohio State has faced all season. And it's an Ohio State team that hasn't looked, they looked great in the last 2 games, but they haven't looked that way all year. Of course, they lost to Oregon in the regular season. Very close to losing to Nebraska. I mean, that was a close game. And then, of course, they lost to Michigan. So you have to look at the season entirely before, when you're making this spread. So I get it. I understand the 5.5. I would have guessed more like maybe 7.5. But 5.5 is the number. The over-under is at 53.5, so kind of a lower scoring game is what Vegas is expecting, and I do tend to agree with that. I think this game will be lower scoring. I just look at, let's first talk about the path for Texas to win here, because they're the underdogs. I think that they have to get aggressive throwing the football. They've kind of been stubborn trying to run it, and they haven't. The run game just has not been there for them in a lot of these games. Now, against Clemson, it was great, and you saw this offense go to a different level when they were able to run the football. But do you really expect Texas to be able to run the ball against Ohio State? I don't think so. So I think for Texas to win this game, they're going to have to be very, very aggressive. They're going to have to take a lot of deep shots. Quinn Ewers is going to have to play really well in this game. If they can do that, I think they'll be able to score some points. But if they are worried about trying to stay balanced and trying to run the football, I think it's just going to be a long day for this offense. They're going to get into a lot of 3rd and longs. I think they're going to struggle to convert, and I think Ohio State will win this game pretty easily. Now, on the other side for Ohio State, their path to victory is just do what they've been doing. I mean, if they just play the way they've played the last 2 games, they're going to win this game. I mean, they just will. They look like clearly the best team in all of college football. I don't know if I said this on a video or maybe somewhere else, but when I looked at the teams this year in the college football playoff, I have said that I believe that there is no team from this year, from this season, that would have won the national championship last year. In fact, I felt like there were 6 teams last season better than any team that we've seen this year, if you have a healthy Jordan Travis on Florida State. But Ohio State has now hit that next level. They are now an elite team. They are now right there with some of those teams from last year, those 6 teams that I was talking about. So if Ohio State plays that way, given the fact that there really are no other elite teams this year, Ohio State should run through these final 2 games and win the national championship fairly easily. Can Texas reach that level? I don't know if we've seen them quite reach that level all year. They've had some moments, some games where they looked really good, and their defense has been really good all year, but it's the offense. That's what's got to change here in this game. for Texas. And I think that Sark will be aggressive. I think he knows what they're going to have to do to hang around in this game. I think they're going to throw it a lot. I think they're going to take a lot of deep shots like I mentioned. But again, if Ohio State just keeps doing what they've been doing the last couple of games, they're not going to lose this game. I feel pretty confident that Ohio State's going to win. So yes, this is the game I feel confident on. Give me the Buckeyes over Texas. I don't trust this Texas offense against a really good Ohio State defense. And then also, you look at the other side, if Texas is going to have a chance, they're going to have to really shut down this Ohio State offense, which, again, the only team that's really done that is Michigan. And, Texas does have a similar physical type defense as Michigan, but I think the change in philosophy, the aggressiveness of this offense for Ohio State, I think if they had taken that into that Michigan game, they would have won that game easily. But now they've kind of figured it out, and I think the Buckeyes will win this game by, I'll say 14. I think they do cover that number pretty easily. I don't think this is a game that comes down to the wire, but I don't think it's as much of a blowout as the Oregon and Tennessee games. I do think it's closer. It's more competitive because of Texas defense, but it's not going to be enough. Ohio State by 14. Then we've got Notre Dame, Penn State. All right, this is the tough one. And again, you guys probably already knew when I said that earlier that this is the game I was having a hard time with. These are two really good teams, and these are two really similar teams. Notre Dame is favored by 1.5 points in this game. The over-under is at 46.5. So an even lower scoring game expected here. And I think this will be a very similar game to the Notre Dame Georgia game. I think it's going to be very similar. I think it's going to be tough to get points. I think, a defensive touchdown, a special teams play could be the difference in this one. I had such a hard time, so I started really digging into the stats, seeing if I could find any advantages for either team. And, it seems like most of the times when one team's good at one thing, the other team's good at the opposite thing. And then if one team maybe has a weakness, the other team isn't great at taking advantage of that weakness. So it was very tough to really find any big advantages in this game. For Notre Dame, I do look at their pass defense coming into the playoff, number 3 in the country. You would expect them to be able to... I don't really expect Penn State to be able to throw it a ton in this game. I think Notre Dame's pass defense will take care of that. It's all about stopping Tyler Warren. That, of course, will be the key there. You look at Notre Dame's red defense, it's top 10 in the country. And their turnover margin, they're number 2 in the country. They were coming into the playoff, which those kind of go together. You look at... I kind of look back at Notre Dame's defense all year. I mean, they are good in the red zone, and they're good at taking the ball away in the red zone. Penn State's 43rd in turnover margin. Notre Dame is number 2 in all of college football. So, yeah, Notre Dame has been very good in the red zone, forcing turnovers. All these things with their defense really makes me think that maybe there's an advantage there for Notre Dame. I think their defense is a little bit better than Penn State's. But, then you look at the run defenses for these teams. That's where an advantage for Penn State is. They were top 10 in the country in run defense. Notre Dame coming into the playoff was 51st. So you wonder, about Notre Dame running the ball in this game. I think that's going to be tough for them. But Indiana was number 1 in the country in run defense, and Notre Dame was able to run on them. So I think Notre Dame will be able to stay balanced enough that they'll move the ball some. But I think, again, both teams are going to struggle to move the football in this game. So, yeah, looking at the stats, I think there's a slight advantage for Notre Dame, but nothing crazy. Again, I think this is just a tough one. It's hard to say. I don't think you can say that one team is better than the other. I mean, they're very even. So it's going to come down to just whoever makes the key plays. And, I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, it's really just a guess at this point. But I kind of look at the quarterbacks, and that's ultimately what led me to my prediction. I look at Drew Aller, who's been pretty solid this year. I mean, he's been very good. At times, even looks like an elite quarterback. You look at Riley Leonard, he's maybe never looked elite, but he's been solid, and he's a gamer. He's going to go out there, and I think he puts this team on his back. I just trust Riley Leonard to make the game-winning plays a little bit more. That's why I'm picking Notre Dame, but again, no confidence really in this prediction. Flip a coin. I think either team can win. I'm going to go with Notre Dame, though. I'm not a fan of Notre Dame, but as far as the national championship matchup, I'd rather see Notre Dame in there just so we get Ohio State, Notre Dame. We get a different matchup from what we saw in the regular season with Ohio State, Penn State. We've already seen that game. I don't really want to see it again. And I think Notre Dame's physical style could maybe give them a chance against Ohio State, maybe a little bit better of a chance than Penn State. We've already, again, seen that matchup, but I don't really think it matters who wins. I think Ohio State will win the national championship, so I'm going to go ahead and give you my prediction there. Buckeyes win the national championship. If they can get past Texas, you feel pretty good, in my opinion, about them against Notre Dame or Penn State. So I think they're in good shape. Again, if they get past Texas, I think this will be a test for them, but I think they will pass that test. And I think you will, again, see Ohio State at the end of the year holding up the national championship trophy. So that's my prediction. Would love to get your predictions on these two semifinal games. And anybody out there think that it won't be Ohio State? Because it feels like they're the clear favorites right now. But maybe you guys, and look, if you're a Notre Dame fan, obviously you're going to say Notre Dame. Or if you're a Penn State fan, you're going to say Penn State. If you're a Texas fan, you're going to say Texas. But I'm curious if there are any non-biased fans, any fans that don't have a team left in this thing that think another team is going to win it than Ohio State. So I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear why. Well, let me know down in the comments below.